Hello, my name is Frances Frosto, and today I will be talking to you about vitamins thiamine and riboflavin. First off, what are vitamins? They are organic molecules that are essential for the human survival and come in two forms, water-soluble and fat-soluble. The two vitamins are a part of the B vitamin family. They are considered water-soluble, easily dissolved in water, and they are both easily transported through the blood. The reason I chose these two was because the first time I was introduced to them was when I studied abroad last fall, and we didn't go much in depth at all, so I thought it'd be interesting to learn more about and to share it with you all. And I will be starting off with thiamine first, which is also known as vitamin B1. It was one of the first compounds recognized as a vitamin. That would mean it is one of the oldest vitamins available to us. Very little is stored in the body, which you get mainly from the food that you eat, which we'll talk about later. Depletion can occur within 14 days, and personally, this is a fairly long time, which is more beneficial to you because it helps you out in the long run, as you will see. It can be used as treatment for metabolic disorders that are associated with genetic diseases like Leigh disease, that affects the central nervous system of the body, occurring between 3 months and 2 years of age, that causes poor motor skills. Functions of vitamin B1 are as followed: the nervous system and muscle function of the body, flow of electrolytes in and out of nerve and muscle cells, digestion, carbohydrate metabolism, and here thiamine functions as coenzyme thiamine pyrophosphate in the metabolism of carbohydrates and branched-chain amino acids. The coenzyme participates in formation of A-ketols as catalyzed by transketolase and in the oxidation of A-keto acids by dehydrogenase complexes. Basically, an insufficient amount of thiamine causes decrease in carbohydrate metabolism and its interconnection with amino acid metabolism, causing a decrease in formation of acetylcholine for neural function, but we'll talk further about deficiencies in a couple of slides. Also, a major function of thiamine is energy production that occurs after proper metabolism of sugar and starch by vitamin B1. This brings us to RDAs, recommended daily allowances, and adequate intake. Levels for thiamine is really low. It's only 1.2 milligrams per day for men and 1.1 milligrams per day for women, or 0.5 milligrams per 1,000 kilocalories expended. On the right, what you see is the recommended nutrient intakes for thiamine, ranging from infants and children to adults. And what you notice is that at the bottom of that list, pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers need the highest intake of thiamine, and that's most likely caused by the fact that they're not only providing for themselves, but they have to worry about another person. They have to worry about their baby. So some signs of thiamine deficiency are headaches, confusion, muscle pain and weakness, fatigue, and in severe cases, beriberi. What this is that it occurs in infants that are breastfed whose nursing mothers are deficient in thiamine. It also occurs in adults with high carbohydrate intakes, mainly from milled rice, and with intakes of anti-thiamine factors. Thiamine is not toxic because renal clearance of levels possibly ingested is rapid. The thing is, all B vitamins have low toxicity levels. That's just a common thing. And the upper intake level, UL, is not established. So you don't really have to worry about becoming toxic with vitamin B from taking vitamin B supplements or getting too much of it in your food. And foods you can eat that are good sources of thiamine include beef, brewer's yeast, legumes, milk, nuts, oats, oranges, pork, rice, and wheat, and those are just some of them. There's another list on the right there, which you see. This table was provided by Dr. Zuniga's PowerPoints. And on top of that dotted line, you can see a highlighted sweet potato. a cooked sweet potato is equivalent to 2 milligrams, and everything above that dotted line is high in thiamine, 20% daily value or more. So that's pretty cool. And a study I would like to bring up that I found interesting was that involved 24 healthy men, and what they did, they were depleted of thiamine, riboflavin, which we'll be talking about next, and vitamin B6 over an 11-week metabolic feeding period. That they found to significantly decrease maximal work capacity, VO2 max, by 12%, onset of blood lactate accumulation by 7%, oxygen consumption and onset of blood lactate accumulation by 12%, peak power by 9%, and mean power by 7%. What this study supports earlier research in which individuals with subclinical vitamin deficiencies were identified, and the ability to do work was assessed before and after vitamin supplementation. So this goes back that thiamine is a very good source, or thiamine helps. One of its functions, important functions, is energy production. Continuing with riboflavin, it's also known as vitamin B2. It is only needed in small amounts, and it makes it possible for oxygen to be used by the body. And if you exercise every day, you are using your vitamin B2 supply. This is why B2 is one of the more important nutrients. This brings me to another study I found interesting about women. And what this graph shows you is a comparison of women between the ages of 19 and 27 with no exercise versus exercise. And the effect that the different levels of riboflavin intake has on their body during a 12-week metabolic study. Each no exercise period lasted 2 weeks, and each exercise period lasted 3 weeks, running from 25 to 50 minutes, 6 days per week. An erythrocyte glutathione reductase activity coefficient, EGRAC, greater than 1.25 was considered high, indicating poor riboflavin status. EGRAC is displayed there. It's the black bar, and the slightly gray colored one is riboflavin intake. And so the subjects were fed a metabolic diet containing 0.14 milligrams of per megajoule, which was then increased by 0.05 milligrams per megajoule increments to determine the amount of riboflavin required to maintain a good EGRAC status. In terms of comparing it to the men's study, with the depletion of those three B vitamins, I just thought it was interesting to, this graph was interesting, the study. And so some major functions of riboflavin are as followed. The breakdown of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. It's also needed in the repair of nails, skin, and hair, and functions as the electron transport in aerobic energy production. Riboflavin acts as an integral component of two coenzymes, which are molecules required for activity of another enzyme. FAD, flavin adenine dinucleotide, and FMN, flavin mononucleotide, are critical for the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into energy. Because riboflavin is an important component of these flavin coenzymes, riboflavin supplementation is believed to increase the efficiency of energy metabolism in cells. The two coenzymes are involved in the activity of complex 1 and 2 of the electron transport chain, which is an essential component of energy metabolism. So I just wanted to add that into the function of the electron transport to further explain what it was. The recommended daily allowance for men and adequate intake is 1.3 milligrams, and for women is 1.1 milligrams of riboflavin. And on the other side is another table ranging from infants to adults, and it's the recommended nutrient intakes of riboflavin. Some signs of deficiency for riboflavin include red, cracked lips, sore throat, inflamed tongue, burning eyes, and sensitivity to light. And I'd like to just bring up that for good health, it is important to always eat a balanced and varied diet. And that's just anything. If you want to feel good and be healthy, it's always good to have a varied diet and balanced diet. Again, there are rarely any toxicity levels involved in B vitamins, which includes B2, and the upper intake level is not established again. People who suffer from alcoholism and who suffer from burns, cancer, continuing diarrhea, fever, illness, and stress, also infection, their doctors will probably tell them to increase their B2 levels. That will be what they are recommended to take. And what these people could do if they suffer from this, just good sources of B2 come from your foods. So foods such as milk, dairy, fish, meats, green leafy veggies, and whole grain are all good sources of B2. Again, there's the table above that dotted line. 20% of daily value or more is high, and that is what those foods include, and include that type of daily value for riboflavin. And a side note I would like to make is that food processing may destroy some of the vitamins in the food, so that's kind of self-explanatory. Ordinary cooking gives you the ability to lose the least amount of riboflavin. And I'd like to bring up, I'm done explaining, giving my spiel about vitamin B1 and B2, and so the research article I chose to talk about is riboflavin requirements and exercise adaptation in older women. And what it is that the effects of exercise training on riboflavin requirements and of riboflavin intake on endurance were examined in 14 women, 50 to 67 years of age, who participated in a 10-week, 2-period crossover exercise study at 2 riboflavin intakes, 0.15 micrograms per kilojoule and 0.22 micrograms per kilojoule. And subjects exercised 20 to 25 minutes per day, 6 days a week for 4-week periods on a cycle ergometer at 75 to 85% of their maximal heart rate, which is high intensity. Riboflavin status was assessed by measuring the EGRAC, and urinary riboflavin excretion. EGRAC was that black bar again in that graph that I had on my slides. Physical performance was evaluated by using a walking treadmill test to determine maximal oxygen capacity, your VO2 max, and anaerobic threshold by gas exchange. What they found, riboflavin requirements of older women increased with exercise training, but increased riboflavin intake did not enhance improvements in endurance. This study, which addressed the riboflavin requirements of older women and the effects of exercise on the requirement, showed that whereas exercise was associated with significant changes in the mean EGRAC and urinary riboflavin excretion of both high riboflavin and low riboflavin groups, because that's what they were broken into in this study, the riboflavin intake of the high riboflavin group was 0.22 micrograms per kilojoule, and for the low riboflavin it was 0.15 micrograms per kilojoule, and what it appeared to be adequate for maintenance of currently acceptable values of riboflavin status throughout the study. So that wasn't a problem. In conclusion, this study showed that in older women, exercise produces biochemical changes indicative of riboflavin depletion when riboflavin intake is the amount of the 1989 RDAs, recommended daily allowances. And from these data points, it is inferred that, from this data the study provided, it is inferred that exercise increases riboflavin requirements of older women. However, from the functional standpoint of adaptation to exercise training, the higher riboflavin intake did not improve physical performance or endurance. That is all, and thank you for listening.